Welcome, everyone, to Mondays with Michael. So good to be with you. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, and whatever live streaming platform you're seeing us on. It's so good to have you. A warm welcome to all. I'm Michael Gaeta, your host today, and we're really glad to be with you. For those of you who haven't been with us, this is our weekly podcast in natural health and health freedom. This is an offering of the Gaeta Institute for Holistic Health Education Research. And our motto here, as with the Gaeta Clinic for Chinese and Functional Medicine, is nature first, drugs last. And that's what brings us here today is exploring these two subjects of natural health and health freedom. So a warm welcome to this is show number 289 for this November 10th, and we are happy to be with you. If you'd like to check in, let us know who you are, where you're calling from, any questions that you have for today in these subjects of natural health and health freedom. We're really interested to hear from you. And also, if you have anything you've come across since we were together last week, as always, we really encourage that. If you have any articles or videos or blogs or podcasts, anything that you want to share with the group, please do. And if you have questions, we can take those in our watch page at michaelgaeta.com/watch, and also on our Zoom link. So, a warm welcome to everyone, and I'm so delighted to have today's guest with us, a new friend, I will say, and dear colleague. And as always, as I said, put your questions in the chat or the Zoom link. And a warm welcome to. Let me just do a reshare here. We're getting a little background here. Let's try that again. And strange. Okay, we've got a little weird little box, I think, appearing on the top there. Oh, there it is. It went away. Okay. So, so delighted and honored to have today's guest with us today. This is Donnie Yance, who is going to be talking with us today. We're going to have a conversation about a subject that he and I both enjoy, other than music, which is botanical medicine as a foundation for health optimization and health span, adaptogenic formulations as the ultimate key player. So we're really delighted to have Donnie with us today. And I'm just going to read you a little bit. If we could spend the whole hour on his bio, he's done so much over his career. But Donnie is a clinical master herbalist and certified nutritionist. He is renowned for his understanding of plant healing properties, nutrition, epigenetics, and oncology. He's a professional member of the American Herbalist Guild and the National Association of Nutrition Professionals. Donnie is founder and president of the Mederi Center, a not-for-profit for personalized patient care, professional education through the Mederi Academy, and research. He is also the president and formulator of Natura Health Products, a line of advanced botanical and nutritional products for healthcare practitioners. Donnie practices at his Mederi Center in Ashland, Oregon, utilizing his integrative Mederi care model. So please, let's give a warm Mondays with Michael welcome to Donnie Yance. Donnie, thanks so much for being with us today. Really glad for this time.
Thank you very much for having me. Very excited and love your program and love all the wonderful things that you're doing as well in the world of health and healing.
Thank you. Well, the feeling's certainly mutual. In my over the 35 years of practice, I've been aware of your name and work in the herbal field for a long time, and really appreciate your many contributions to the field. I can say that the field of herbal therapy and other areas as well, but definitely herbal therapy has definitely advanced because of your work.
Thank you so much. And it
Yeah, so glad.
continues.
Thank you. Thank you. So just for folks who are a little less familiar with you and your work, you just give us a little sketch of what brought you to this point of doing the current work that you're doing, a little bit of your path that brought you here.
Yeah, I think there are many moments throughout my life that I had various epiphanies, you might
Mm-hmm.
say. Um, One of the big epiphanies I think I had was when I decided to dedicate my life to working in oncology. And
Hmm.
that was working, I was early in practice, clinical practice. This was in the late 1980s, maybe
Yes.
1990 even. And I really met this woman. Her name was Sinclair.
Hmm.
But we eventually changed her name to St. Clair. And
Oh,
she
beautiful.
she
The St.
she had
Francis.
yeah, she had a pretty advanced aggressive breast cancer, and I didn't know
Oh,
anything about cancer back then, but I still knew
yes.
a good amount about herbs and knew
Yes.
some general ways that I can help her and support her in the tools that I had at the time.
Yes.
And I just watched like everything that was done to her in conventional medicine and
Right.
allopathic medicine did nothing to help her. And
Hmm.
say that it can help some people, but in her case, she was failing everything that they gave. She
Hmm.
wasn't responding to chemotherapy. They
Hmm.
did back then, I don't know, you go back that far, but they used to just do radical surgeries for,
Totally.
totally like they both breast removed, total lymph
Mm-hmm.
node dissection, chest
Mm.
wall radiation. I
Mm.
mean, she had the whole gamut done to her,
Wow.
and her cancer just kept spreading. And
Wow.
yeah, she was an incredibly beautiful woman. She was in her 30s and
Mm.
just beautiful to look at.
Mm.
And to see how well she handled it with the utmost grace and never
Mm.
to complain or be angry at anyone, and to then have her eventually pass on and then have her
Mm.
family come into my clinic a
Mm.
couple of days after she passed and literally handed me this ring. I mean, you won't be able to get a good look at it, I don't think, but I'll show it to
Oh,
you
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I can see that fine.
This one here, it's kind of whimsical, kind of like I am. But anyway, her family, she was a jeweler, and her mom and dad said, Sinclair just loved working with you, and you meant so much to her. And
Mm.
she had to finish this gift for you, her ring,
Mm.
before she left the planet.
Oh,
And I said,
wow.
wow, well, I've been looking for my true calling in life. Here it is. I'm a musician. I love music. I
Yes.
mean, if I personally made a choice for my own self-purpose, not to say there isn't a lot of incredible healing in music alone. I probably would have pursued a career in music.
Mm.
Prior to that, I lived 3 years in a Franciscan monastery. I'm professed as
Mm.
a Franciscan, and I thought my life was to be called into religious life, and everything
Mm.
is connected. I see everything as one. But
Yes.
then in that moment, I had this thing. I dedicated my life in that moment. I said, I'm going to learn everything I can about cancer, humanly possible,
Oh,
and do
wow.
my absolute best from this moment on to help
Mm.
people with cancer. And I learned, and I continue to learn that, with our tools, you can give people the best herbal medicine, best nutritional medicine in the world. And if
Yes.
the choices that they're making in the very strong, heroic toolbox, allopathic
Right.
medicine is wrong, they're not going to get better. So
Right.
everything, that's why in the system of medicine I've created, Mediri Care, it's a unified system. It isn't where natural medicine is working alongside standard of care conventional medicine. This is
Right.
where all the toolboxes are purposely put together,
Mm.
including frequently conventional medicine, but in a unique way, in a way that it fits into the puzzle of holism, not in a
Mm.
way that it's just out in left field doing whatever it wants. And then
Right.
we're sitting by the sidelines trying to pick up the collateral damage as a result.
Right.
So and I'm not opposed at all to those tools. I just think the way the tools are used in conventional medicine are not
Mm.
nearly as optimal as they could be. And so I'm
Yes.
trying to shift that into a holistic sense of medicine, where everything is working together as one. So that was
Mm.
that was a big epiphany. I've had
Mm.
several. I really got into herbal medicine in high school when
Mm.
my hippie cousins who lived in Oregon. I grew up outside of New York in Stamford, Connecticut. So,
Yes.
and but I was even in high school interested in health and healing, and my cousin sent me this old herb book, which I'm sure you know, Back to Eden by Jethro
Oh,
Kloss,
classic. Yeah,
the old
classic.
classic kind of thing,
Yes.
based on mostly on what's called Thompsonianism, which is the crudest
Yes.
system of herbal medicine.
Samuel Thompson.
Yeah, Samuel
Warming
Thompson.
strategies. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was and it wasn't so much that I took the book literally as far as how I would choose to educate myself in herbal
Hmm.
medicine. But I love the connection of thinking of the plant world as God's pharmacy, and that we should
Hmm.
be connecting with that in a better and deeper way. So there was something more
Nice.
philosophical that
Yes.
connected to me in that book. And I said, I really want to learn about this pharmacy that's
Huh.
all about around us. And so that was my start in herbal and pursuing herbal medicine as a love.
Well, that's amazing, Donnie. I had a related origin story coming from music into healthcare. And my first mentor, who was a Marist brother in my high school, I went to a Catholic all boys high school in Queens. And I would say he definitely helped save my life in those kind of dark days when I, suffered from, what will be called today clinical depression and suicidal ideation and all of this. And he was just this wonderful man who just, as he would say, God doesn't make junk. You're lovable. So as a 16-year-old kid, that was kind of a new message that was, simple but very important to me. And he was my friend. And we stayed close friends after high school. And he really became other than my dad, my first mentor. And he, smoked for decades and was diagnosed with liver cancer and passed away in 1993 after, going through very aggressive chemotherapy where, the doctors even said, this probably isn't going to work, but it's all we have and we're going to go at it hard. And he just went downhill, rapidly. And it was my first kind of, you know, close to me loss outside the family. My grandparents had passed away. Um, and it was really affected me because I saw he was, his quality of life. He was sharp. He was, functioning. He was Ron. He was brother Ron until the chemo started. And then, I just saw him plummet within days, and he didn't last that many weeks. And they even said I was in the hospital, visiting him as I did almost every day with his roommate, another Maris brother. And I just happened to be there when the doctor said, yeah, this has like a 10% chance of success, but it's all we have and we're going to try. And I had only been practicing at that point, 3 years and didn't know anything. I was like, what's going on here? I was doing, Asian body work and some nutrition and some herbs, but very, 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 simple. And from that loss, and I guess it was you were quoting, you and I had the same experience. I want to, I felt helpless. Like here I am in the health field, had no idea what to do to help him. Seeing this man, that I cared for so much, um, go through this. I'm like, I want to learn how to help people who are going through this and to help prevent this. And if they are going through it, help support them. And I, kind of dove in, after the tears dried and, had some grieving process. Later that year in 1993, that was May that he passed away. And by the end of the year, I had really like dove into like, what is this cancer thing? And what can I do to help, in Chinese medicine and herbal medicine and nutrition? And that was really an impetus that I said, well, Ron's gone, brother Ron is gone, but let me help everybody else, who has this issue or who just wants to prevent. And so it's incredible, how uh, people like that can have such an influence.
Yeah, I had a similar in the monastery. I had a similar spiritual advisor, Father Philip O'Shea,
Hmm.
and he had a great influence on me and still does. I
Hmm.
was blessed enough to back in the old days, he had the little cassettes, and he was giving a retreat on the Beatitudes, and I happened to
Oh,
record a bunch of it, and I still to this day go back and listen to those because he just had a way of
wow.
articulating and translating that into in a personal way, so that all of a
Yes.
sudden I felt like God's talking to me.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
and you brought up, I was brought up in Catholic school as well. I switched
Yeah.
over in high school from Catholic school to the public school because of one reason. They had the public school I went to called Ripwam had an incredible music program.
Oh,
The
wow.
music teachers there, the two music teachers were just phenomenal
Hmm.
that were teaching there, and it was a good move for me to do at that time, particularly musically. But I had the same upbringing, and you brought up is that him?
That's Ron.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Ron. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And I think one of the quotes that came to me when you were talking was Saint Augustine says, I've discovered that I'm more God than I am myself. And so I
Mm.
think when you come to
Mm.
that realization, it changes the way that you think of yourself. It's
Yes.
we're all it's interesting that we see God through so many different lenses, this kind of
Right.
cosmic universal lens that we don't completely
Yes.
understand. But rather than get too focused on that, let's focus on the ways that maybe we really can connect with God in a more tangible way. One
Yes.
is through nature.
Yes.
Nature is constantly revealing this incredible, beautiful, not just intelligence, but which it is, but
Right.
also love. This incredible
Right.
love. I always say
Francis and Claire.
plants are the humblest sign of how much God loves us because they're
Hmm.
just giving of themselves. They're selfless. They're trying,
Hmm.
you put plants grow to heal the earth. We
Hmm.
disturb the environment and plants heal the environment. Trees give us our
Hmm.
oxygen.
Yes.
Jimson weed pulls toxins out of the soil. So plants are constantly, plants in the ocean are cleaning the ocean. So plants
Yes.
constantly making life better for us, not just as food and medicine for us, but for our environment. And
Yes.
I just find it so beautiful, not just scientific. And then we
Right.
see God through how we have an exchange of human love. And so those are
Hmm.
the things that I think that are more tangible. So we have God as the creator and as this universal mystery, but then we
Yes.
have God as participating in the life that we live, and how we find
Hmm.
that in the little things every day is very impactful. I remember when I went into the monastery, the first day I went into the cloister,
Yes.
Father Anthony, and I'm brought up
Father
Roman
Anthony.
Catholic. Yeah, so I'm brought
Yes.
up
Me
Roman
too.
Catholic, but I was professed as a Franciscan in the Eastern Catholic Church, Byzantine Rite.
Oh,
The
okay.
monastery I lived in was Byzantine, Eastern Rite as well. So I go
Wow.
into the monastery, I go into the cloister, and he says, "All right, what room would you like? We have a couple of empty rooms." He shows me a
Okay.
room. And then he says, Brother Xavier, Brother X, he was called. He just passed away like within a week.
Oh.
And he goes, well, would you like to see Brother X's room? And I said,
Oh.
sure, I'll take a look at Brother X's room. So Michael he literally opens the door. What's the only thing that's in there is this little tiny bed, one
Right.
nightstand with this broken statue of the Blessed Mother
Wow.
that has cracks in it that he obviously had glued back together. And that's all that's in his room. There's nothing
Oh.
in his room. And
Wow.
so Anthony says, what do you think? And I go, I think I'll take Brother X's room. And he goes,
Hmm.
then Anthony says, would you like to have a statue? And I said, most definitely. So
Yes.
literally, Michael, that statue sits on my bedpost right next to my bed to this
Oh.
day.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
your words bring up, I'm sure you're familiar with this quote from Steiner, and then a little commentary on the quote from a mutual colleague of ours. So Steiner said, "For every human illness, somewhere in the world there exists a plant which is the cure." That was kind of the underlying
yes.
philosophy, in part, of anthroposophic medicine. And then
Yes.
Kerry Bone, who you and I know as a colleague in the herbal field, he says, I believe there is a healing potential locked inside plants, which is integral with their evolution, just as it is part of human evolution to learn to tap this wonderful gift of nature. Just came to mind.
And
What a beautiful expression, God's selfless gift through the plant world.
yeah, and that makes me think of this new science that's unfolding on how we really understand the healing potential of plants, and that
Hmm.
is seeing it through what's called network medicine. So we have
Yes.
molecular networks, cellular networks,
Right.
and organ system networks. And so this sort of biological interconnectedness that we're seeing
Yes.
on all these different levels, and that when we ingest plants and probably food as well,
Right.
that what we used to think was like oh, these plants aren't getting absorbed very well because we're not seeing their constituents in the bloodstream. Well,
Yes.
and then that we keep thinking, oh, we need to make sophisticated ways to change that, but
Right.
we've really
Nano.
learned now that
Yeah.
we've had it all wrong. So we're
Hmm.
not supposed to have those compounds. We're not supposed to have plant
Huh.
compounds in our body. What
Interesting.
happens is in our gut, we swim together. So the microbiome talks, which is the enteric brain, basically the second brain in the
Yes.
body. The
Yes.
microbiome talks to the plants. They bathe and swim together for a while, and they say, let's create something new and different. So they make
Hmm.
these smaller molecules that then, because they're tiny molecules that are metabolites of the original molecules,
These
like
are the secondary metabolites you're talking about.
secondary metabolites in the plants, though, but they
Right.
further become newer metabolites and versions that are not in the plant and not in our body. It all
Yes.
happens through this symbiotic relationship, this communicative relationship that takes place. And even one plant that one compound in one plant, say curcumin, now we know curcumin has 12 different metabolites it metabolizes into our bloodstream, none of which are curcumin. So this whole concept of
Wow.
we have a better curcumin because we have higher blood levels is totally thrown out
Oh,
the door. That's
wow.
not how you justify whether something's working or not.
That's
You justify
amazing.
it based on pharmacodynamics.
Yes.
You take this herb formula, you study its impact on health, and that's how you know something's working. You
Oh,
know.
what a
So again,
great insight.
yeah, so and again, it's really beautiful. It's like wow, and so there's all this communication taking place. So
Hmm.
plant medicines are here to relate to us. They're not here to take control. So that's why I said the
Right.
best kind of medicine is working with the intelligence of the plant, meeting the intelligence or the life force of our body. A
Hmm.
communication takes place, and then the plants decide what compounds and what metabolites are going to best serve us in the most supportive role, which
Hmm.
often means a humble role. Because I would
Hmm.
say plant medicine is humble medicine,
Yes.
conventional medicine is heroic medicine. We're caught in this trap that
Right.
that heroic medicine is always what's best. Now, there's a place and time for that for sure,
Sure.
but most of the time in chronic disease, you don't want heroic medicine. You want
Right.
gentle, humble medicine.
Yes. So with the conversion of say allicin into allicin, in garlic, for example, like
Mhm.
allicin, there's no allicin in the garlic, but
Yeah.
it's converted into that by the allinase
Yeah, and that's
in
a
the
great
gut.
example. Also, the compound genistein, which is an
Yes.
abundant isoflavone in, say, soy foods,
Right.
that compound converts into an active compound called equal. And
Huh.
one of the reasons why Asians might get a little bit more health benefit from eating traditional soy foods
Right.
than say European people, not necessarily, but in general, it's a
Yeah.
generalization, is that their gut microbiome is a little bit better at converting these isoflavones into equal, and equal
Huh.
is one of the more potent, say, anti-tumor compounds that are
Huh.
phyto, or, those compounds that have benefits when it comes to cancer inhibition and even cardiovascular benefits as well.
Interesting. And how do you spell that,
Yeah,
Donnie?
yeah.
E
Equal. I
E
think it's just
Q.
spelled
Oh,
EQUOL, I think.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so would you say, Donnie, this is kind of part of, I mean, certainly, I think both of us have observed this over our years of practice, that there is a paradigm shift happening from reductionism to holistic medicine.
I think that there is, and but at the same time, reductionism is gaining traction along too. I mean, we keep
Hmm.
dissecting cancer into more and more divisions
Oh,
and
right.
and trying to now see it based on a single mutation, say, for example,
Right. And
and we
snip.
try to
Yeah.
give a drug. Someone has a BRAF mutation, so
Right.
they take endorphinib, which is Bratovi, for example. That
Right.
compound blocks the BRAF pathway. But
Right.
then all of a sudden, and even when people get the best of response, it
Right.
doesn't seem to last more than 3 to 4 months, and then back
Oh,
to that. So we keep, finding these what we think is these magic bullets. We're still looking for magic bullets, and
right.
because that's what pharmaceuticals are good at making, things that
Yes.
block. I tell patients all the time, there isn't a single drug practically that isn't about blocking something. Even the best
Huh.
of drugs, PD-L1 inhibitors, they're blocking
Yes.
the programmed death receptor. So although it can be miraculous in certain cancers, it also can offset your immune system in a way that makes you susceptible to autoimmune diseases, from
Hmm.
colitis to thyroid disease, to liver hepatitis, to lung diseases. And so you
Right.
can you can't, in natural medicine, in the traditional way it's practiced, is never about that. It's never
Right.
about blocking something or trying to take control. And I'm not saying
Hmm.
there's a great place for PD-L1 inhibitors, but you have to know what
Right.
they're doing. And to me, even the best of medicine well, across the board, but particularly even in oncology, because that's what I specialize in, but even outside of oncology, is that I would think that people would be way better served doing everything that can better their health, that
Right.
is healthy in the holistic sense, that's really about contributing to making their life healthier, optimizing their health, in increasing their quality of life, and aiding in longevity as well. And then
Hmm.
using these stronger medicines in lower doses, even
Hmm.
sometimes what's called metronomic dosaging, and
Huh.
that would better serve the majority of people than the way things are done conventionally. And yes,
Hmm.
there's a paradigm shift, but nobody knows exactly, how to formulate. So one of the objectives of what I say Mediri Care is to create a framework and a platform that all practitioners can practice in.
Huh.
And like I went to Israel about, I think it was maybe 9 or 10 years ago, and taught for 1 week straight at Bellinson Hospital, the
Hmm.
largest hospital in Tel Aviv.
Right.
So that at that hospital, before I taught, and helped with them, what's
Right.
called integrate with the full oncology department, all the oncologists, all of the radiologists, the dietitians. Before I went and helped bridge that, I sat down with the integrative team, and there was probably 20, 22 of these practitioners. And I'm sitting down with them and I'm saying
Right.
to myself, these guys can't even integrate with each other. How are they going to integrate with conventional medicine? And so
Wow.
because
Hmm.
if you're trained, like you've been trained in traditional Chinese medicine, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine just getting a training in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, and
Right.
then another person at the table has never had any training in that, but they've been trained in Western herbal medicine.
Hmm. Sure.
The two of them can't talk to each other.
Not readily, no.
No, they don't know the
No.
same. They don't know the same herbs. They don't know
A
the same
different
way to
framework. Right.
practice. Yeah, different framework. And then you throw in a naturopathic doctor that's maybe, kind of gotten a little bit of training in everything, but doesn't really
Right.
specialize in anything.
Right.
And so they still have to go out and find their own place. And then
Yes.
you have nutritionist at the table and various other practitioners. And I'm saying
Right.
the nutritionist doesn't know anything about herbs. And
Right.
so I said one of the great purposes of Mediri Care is to teach people a framework that everybody talks the same language.
Hmm. That's
So that
great.
when the Chinese practitioner says, "Oh, this patient has blood stagnation,"
Right. Right.
the conventional doctor says, "I don't know what that means." So then you explain, well, why don't you run the D-dimer, the fibrinogen, the plasminogen
Sure.
activator inhibitor 1, these
Yep.
various blood tests that demonstrate blood stagnation, and then
Hmm.
and cancer patients are
Oh.
times higher risk of having a thrombotic
Oh,
episode,
for
which often
sure.
kills them.
Yeah.
So I said every cancer patient should be testing these pathways, because there's things you can do that mitigate that not only reduce the risk of having a clotting episode, but also the nature of cancer is to hijack these pathways of our body.
Yes.
So by reducing that or inhibiting it with blood moving herbs and enzymes primarily is what I
Right.
use, but
Right.
those two things, now not only are you reducing the risk of your patient dying from a clot because cancer induces a prothrombotic state, having
Yes.
patients that have a lot of fear and nervousness stagnate the blood.
Right.
Most conventional drugs induce thrombosis. Chemotherapy is
Huh.
prothrombotic.
Very much
Uh,
so. Yeah.
yeah, steroids are prothrombotic. So a lot of the drugs, and then
Mm.
patients are often more sedentary when they're going through therapy, and that's not
Right.
good. So by targeting this, by exposing this and targeting this, by identifying it and then targeting it with our toolbox, you can not only dramatically reduce the risk of that occurring and maybe preventing your patient from dying, but now
Yes.
you've taken away one of the things cancer is trying to use to make tumors.
Oh, that's
So that
excellent.
it's a double benefit.
Yes. Yes.
Because cancer is
Well,
prothrombotic. Cancer is
right.
a disease of stagnation. You have
Mm.
stagnant blood, you have stagnant oxygen, you have stagnant lymph.
Hmm. That's excellent. And I just taught a course in Salvia miltiorhiza
Yeah,
last
that's
year.
one of the main
Dan
herbs.
Shen, one of my favorite herbs. And I'm
Mine as
writing a
well.
book about Chinese wormwood, Artemisia annua.
Yeah,
And I, kind of in the middle of it, so I'm kind of like committed to finishing it. But I was like, oh, maybe I should, I'd really love to jump over to Danshen because and it's this blood moving herb that improves outcomes. Well, first of all, it has all this so-called anti-cancer effects that they've been looking for mechanisms for, but also improves outcomes with patients on chemotherapy. And I'm wondering, if we look at this in your model, it's just a beautiful way to look at it. This might be, getting away, just putting aside for a moment pathways and receptor sites and compounds that interact with them. If we just get to the fact that this is a blood moving herb, that might account for, at least energetically, some of the intelligence of the herb in a cancer context.
absolutely. And I write monographs on every single herb that I work with. So
Mm.
if you're writing a paper on Artemisia annua, I can offer you everything that I've
Oh,
compiled
thank
on
you.
it. And so, because I that's featured in one of my formulas, Artemis Plus, and Salvia
Oh,
medorosa
great.
is featured in a formula. I call it Vibrant Mind, but I use it a lot in cancer because it's got Salvia medorosa, Ginkgo biloba,
Oh, sure.
and Centella asiatica,
Oh, love it. Go to
and
Cola.
then the vinca plant compound called vimpotacine, and
Yes.
then tinospora, which is an Ayurvedic herb, also kind of blood moving. So it's a very, and then my favorite is saffron. Actually, it features a very
Oh,
specific
wow.
saffron. Saffron really moves blood, but it also moves
Really?
oxygen better than any other plant. So
I didn't know that.
so I
Would have
use,
thought.
even though the plant, even though the formula is promoted for cognitive health, I use it a lot in cancer, and
Wow.
actually like to use it in combination with Artemis, our formula Artemis Plus, because that formula, Artemisia, the sesquiterpene lactones, which there are nine
Yes.
of, people use artemisinin, but actually
Yes.
in vivo, see, one of the mistakes people make in vitro, isolated compounds
Oh,
often look
totally.
really good, but in vivo, frequently the whole plant extract outperforms the isolate.
Oh,
So
exactly.
so
Exactly.
yeah, so in Artemisia, you not only have artemisinin, which has been isolated,
Yeah.
but you have eight other sesquiterpene lactones, all
Yes.
that have benefit and all that synchronized together. And then
That's
you have
right.
an array of flavonoids as well. I
Yes.
do. I combine artemisinin at like 150 milligrams with another 100 milligrams of a full spectrum extract because I never use an isolate
Beautiful.
without combining it with the whole herb. And
Yes.
complementary to that, I in that compound is chelidonium, which is a Western herb,
Oh,
celandine.
yes.
Also,
Yes.
very famous herb for cancer, bitter,
Yes.
kind of cold, like kind of like Artemis is
Right. Right.
energetically,
Right. Right.
and then some burdock seed extract and some
No. Oh,
clove.
not the root. Okay.
Not the root. The seed is the medicine. The root is a good food, but the seed is,
Oh, wow.
the seed is a tremendous medicine.
Oh, wow.
Great for psoriasis, great for a lot of a lot of conditions, lung conditions as well. So
Hmm.
the eclectics. I'm a amateur kind of educator of American herbal medicine, looking at
Yes.
physiometabolism, eclectic medicine,
Yes.
anti-Satanism.
Right.
So the eclectics were are kind of my heart medicine. I love Chinese
Hmm.
medicine, and I probably the
Sure.
poetic platform of Madiri care is sort of built on traditional Chinese medicine, but it's then
Right.
there's some Ayurvedic qualities, there's some
Oh,
eclectic
nice.
qualities. So I'm
Yes.
trying to do something like a musician would do. I often refer to somebody like Stan Getz, who's a classic
Oh,
jazz, beautiful
my
jazz
my
saxophone.
dad's favorite sax player.
Yeah, amazing. The most lyrical, the most beautiful
Oh,
melodic
so
player.
yes.
And so, but then he goes to Brazil and he meets all these great Brazilian musicians. And what happens? His girl from Ipanema, one of the
That's right. He met Jobim. That's right.
at Shobim. And so to me in medicine, it's the same way. When these different modalities meet each other, something beautiful. John Coltrane went and studied Indian music and he comes out all of a sudden playing all these different scales and stuff that nobody ever heard
Right.
of before in jazz. And
Right.
so I think, that's kind of the same thing I try to do in medicine is figure out how things can work, make the most sense bringing them together. And so,
Yes.
but I was
I
going to
love that.
comment about Artemisia. So reason why blood moving herbs combined with Artemisia is so good is that one of the mechanisms, not the sole mechanism, is that these sesquiterpene lactones react
Yes.
in what's called ferroptosis.
Paroptosis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
ferroptosis, which
Yeah.
has to
Both
do
Dan
with
Shen and Qing Hao do that.
yeah, and they oxidize iron selectively in the
Yes.
cancer cell and they blitz
And
it. So
parasites.
yeah,
Yes.
so I will go out in the whim and say that in all my workings in my 40 years of cancer, natural medicine, I've never seen anything work as effective as
Hmm.
directly having some anti-tumor effect, direct
Yes.
anti-tumor effect as that formulation.
That's great.
So particularly,
Well,
it has great action in the liver and
mm,
hematological cancers as well.
yes.
Some of the lower
Yes.
grade or even higher grade lymphomas and things of that nature, it's
Yes.
very effective for.
It sure is. Well, that's a beautiful explanation, Donnie.
Mhm.
They had five malaria patients that they had used the standard drug therapy of chemical isolates from artemisinin, the ACT, artemisinin combination therapy, and they all failed. I think it may have been more than five patients, but there were several patients that were on the brink of death. And they're like, well, they're going to die anyway. We tried everything. We tried all the drugs. They, hasn't worked. Let's use the full spectrum plant, the leaf extract of the Artemisia annua, and at ridiculously low dose of like a gram a day, which
Mhm.
is, almost, for that herb is almost homeopathic. But so a gram a day of the leaf, and in 5 days, actually it was 18 patients, they were all cured. Like the
Wow.
malaria was gone with this very low dose, full spectrum leaf. And but still to this day, the reductionists can't help themselves. They're still trying to isolate compounds from artemisinin, synthesize them or extract them and give them as isolates. When all the evidence confirms exactly what you said, that the full spectrum plant, just leave it alone, works much better.
And then what did you start off saying? Like, is there a paradigm shift in holism? And you just validated my point. Well, yes
For
and
sure.
no at the same time. I think there
Right.
things are there, and so yeah, and I'm finding the same thing. And I think it's the attachment to ego that's the problem.
Mm.
That's when we isolate
Mm.
things, and one of the things
Heroic medicine.
about I think one of the things about medicine that also is the same in theology, and I don't know why, but the
Yes.
further you go west, the more the ego seems to be
Oh,
present,
wow.
and the
Wow.
more the more
Wow.
rational thinking has to dominate. The rational mind
Yes.
it has to be in charge. The more you go east,
Yes.
the intuitive mind is more in charge, and the ability to embrace some aspect that's mystical is very inherent in medicine and
Mm.
in theology. Um, so you can see,
Wow.
for example, uh, in medicine, Chinese medicine not only does it uses whole herbs, but it uses multiple herbs together.
Yes.
So when you say someone's getting better, you first of all want to say what's doing it. There must
Right.
be some chemical isolate that's doing
Right.
it. The rest we can throw away. And I love the quote by Einstein, who says the intuitive mind is the sacred gift, the rational mind is the
Yes.
humble servant.
That's
we
right.
we now live in a world that has abandoned the gift and is honoring the servant instead. And
Yes.
so I think that that's very apparent in medicine.
Yes, it is. And I'm going to ask you a question. I was just speaking with a friend of mine, a school dad, who's an oncologist here, and just your comment on what he said. I'm just going to put that one of my favorite Einstein quotes up while I'm asking the question. Um, he was saying that the renaissance that's going now in oncology is away from chemotherapy towards immunotherapies, like what you mentioned, the checkpoint inhibitors, and similar drugs, and targeted therapies, so drugs that are selectively toxic to certain cell types or cell lines. And his prediction was in 10 years, we will have eliminated 85% of the use of chemotherapy in favor of immunotherapies and targeted therapies. So, this is your wheelhouse as well. So, what's your take on that?
Well, first of all, I'm going to be devil's advocate and say what they're calling immunotherapy really isn't immunotherapy at this
Hmm.
moment. Now, maybe
Yes.
that will change, but what they call immunotherapy is predominantly called checkpoint inhibitors.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
checkpoint, in whether CTL4 inhibitors or PDL1 inhibitors or
Right.
PD inhibitors. And so, what they're
Right.
doing is they're looking to block certain receptors that act as camouflage on the tumor cells that then hinder the immune system from attacking it. So
Right.
and so
Getting
they
rid of
and they
amino evasion.
yeah, so what they do is they unmask the tumor for the immune system to attack it. But here's the
Right.
problem is that they often have patients that are very beaten up and
Hmm.
don't have good, healthy immune systems when they're taking these drugs.
Right.
Number one. Number two, they're co-administering various drugs that interfere and diminish the benefits of those drugs. And the
Hmm.
most common ones, which I hate, are proton pump inhibitors. So
Yes. Total
almost all
disaster.
cancer patients get a little heartburn, and the
Right.
doctors give them PPIs, which are
Yes.
deadly. They totally destroy the beneficial microbiome that is
Right.
needed to then produce an immune response that makes these drugs work well. The second
Right.
class of drugs they give is antibiotics. Frequently, cancer
Yes.
patients, particularly advanced ones, are on antibiotics.
Right.
The other thing they do, which I hate, are the neutrophil growth stimulating drugs, which
Oh,
promote the
right.
growth of cancer.
Right.
Ulixin and Neupogen not only, well, these drugs are designed to take premature stem cells and turn them into neutrophils overnight and mass production of neutrophils, not a
Hmm.
normal production.
Hmm.
So, would you take somebody in nursery school and tell everybody to go and be a rocket scientist the next day? That's what they're doing to
Hmm.
do. There's no
Okay.
diversity, and they do it at the expense that you don't make lymphocytes. So the lymphocyte percentage goes down.
Hmm.
The cytotoxic T cells and natural killer cells are subcategories of lymphocytes. So you're diminishing even more the
Right.
cells that fight cancer. And then
Oh,
you give them steroids, which are also associated with offsetting the immune system and diminishing the effects of these drugs. So
wow.
if they
Wow.
would use a little bit lower dosage, of, say, a drug like pembrolizumab or Keytruda, like
Yeah.
half dosage rather than 200 milligrams every 2 or 3 weeks to
Right.
100, and combine it with a healthy diet and herbal and nutritional medicine, the
Right.
results would be outstanding because I see
Hmm.
it all the time in my practice.
Hmm.
And you'll get rid of the cancer stem cells. One of the big problems with chemo,
Oh,
even
for
when it's
sure.
highly effective, it
It
doesn't
won't
target
touch
the
it.
stem cells. Targeted therapy sometimes does, in the right types, in the right situations,
Right.
and immunotherapy does in the right situations. At least in my practice, because I'm doing a lot of other things with my patients.
Right.
My
Right.
patients do much better. They respond miraculously well, and often they can stop doing it. I mean, I have one patient 5 or 6 years out now. She had done can't tumors everywhere. every
Mm.
cancer all over her body, had
Mm.
been through 9 different rounds of chemotherapy and various other
Oh,
drugs,
wow.
and she had nothing left. And so, based on some biomarkers, and this is before anyone knew what a PD-L1 inhibitor was,
Right.
I thought that she would do well possibly in a trial. And she was at Sloan Kettering. They wanted to put her in a trial on what's called heat shock protein 90
Sure.
inhibitor drug, which those drugs don't work, even though heat
Right.
shock protein 90 is upregulated,
Yep.
and they're very toxic. And so her research oncologist, John Gerasantano, actually at Sloan Kettering, I said, "Do
Mm.
you have a PD-L1 study?" And they said, "Yeah, we do. Can you get her in?" And they got her in. She had 3 treatments, and her
Right.
liver enzymes went up,
Mm.
which means they had to take her out of the trial.
Right.
And they scanned her, and no tumors. No cancer
Wow.
whatsoever. About 2 or 3 months later, her liver enzymes all normalized again. They said,
Right.
"You can go back in the trial now." And she said, "Well, I don't have any cancer right now. I think I'll wait because my liver enzymes will probably go up again."
Right.
So Michael, she never did but 3 treatments, and it's 5.5, 6 years later, she's cured. There's no cancer. She
Wow.
she was one of 32 people in the trial, the only one alive.
Really?
And they
So
told her
what
you can't.
happened?
They told her in the trials, they always do. You can't take any natural medicine. She took everything.
Right.
She goes, "Donnie's the reason why I'm alive to this day. I'm going to do everything he says." And he's the one that told me to go in this trial. And then after 5 years, when they told her you're the only one alive, and she's great, she's a yoga instructor doing great. She
Wow.
says, "Well, I'm going to come clean with you and tell you all the things I was doing with the therapy."
Wow. So the
This
reason she
happens
had,
consistently in
right.
my work. Same with biological agents. I try to get them to do lower dosages.
Right.
Say some of the BTK inhibitors. I don't love ibrutinib, but
Right.
acalabrutinib's better and zanubrutinib's better than that. Half dosage along with natural therapy.
Mm.
A leukemic patient with the poor prognostic leukemic patient that has the deletion 17, it's called trypsoni CLL, the worst
Right.
kind of CLL to have.
Yes.
And she was on her deathbed, and
Mm.
nobody would give her. This is like 5, 6 years ago. Nobody would give her a BTK inhibitor. No,
Oh.
we don't do that. It's experimental. Finally, she had to fly all the way from the West Coast all the way to Mass General in
Oh.
Boston, where a specialist in BTKs was there. He goes,
Oh.
"Yeah, you need a BTK inhibitor, calibrutinib." And I told her half dosage to start with to see how you do with all my natural medicine.
Right.
Complete remission. Stayed on the drug
Wow.
maybe a year and a half to 2 years. Hasn't been on any drugs for 3 or 4 years, and the
Wow.
disease has never come back.
Wow.
So
That's
I'm not,
amazing.
and I couldn't, both those circumstances, I couldn't get there with just natural medicine. It
Yes.
had to be this unified approach. So it's not
Yes.
like, people come to our clinic and say, "I don't want to do any conventional medicine." I said, "Well, we will determine what's best for you." And that might
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
true, might not be true,
Right.
but you can't just assume that. And you just need things to all be the right thing and the right amounts and all fit together. And
Yes.
I say we're putting a puzzle together, a healing puzzle.
Right. That's beautiful. So that gets us to these one of my favorite and yours as well categories of herbal medicine, which are the adaptogens, which
Hmm.
I always think of as enhancing resilience, optimizing life, enhancing our ability to act creatively in the world to thrive, not just survive. What's your take on the adaptogens, the quality control theory of aging?
Well, I think they serve as the foundation. So
Mm,
they serve on what are we gonna start with when we're building a protocol? What are we gonna build our foundation on? So right
yes.
off the bat, adaptogens are the foundation. I mean,
Mm.
my book is is 700 pages and like 5,000 citations on adaptogens and medical herbalism.
Wow. Wow.
So it's, that is the crust of everything I do. And so if I'm only going to do one thing, that's what it's going to be, because they have
Mm.
the most what's called pleiotropic benefit.
Yes.
Pleiotropic means multitasking capability.
Right.
There isn't one area that they haven't shown to be beneficial.
Mm.
They mitigate stress. They quality control theory of aging. Yes, they mitigate stress, which is a big part of aging,
Right.
by working with the nervous system. They obviously are anabolic, meaning that they're helping with the restoration of the body on that molecular, cellular, and organ system level. So,
Right.
with disease, with a lot of conventional drugs, with
Right.
aging, all of these things are catabolic, meaning that they're inducing a state that our body's breaking down.
Mm.
Chemotherapy destroys,
Mm.
radiation destroys. Surgery has a huge impact on our bodies from a catabolic perspective. Aging
Mm.
itself, when you look at people that are getting older, they may not even have a disease, but they're frail. How does frailty
Yes.
syndrome happen? So the frailer you are, the worse you do with any chronic disease. So what are you
Right.
going to start with? What is the building block? So for me, adaptogens are the building block and not a single plant. I'm again believe in this theory of formulations and combining
Yes.
herbs, and so much so that I got a little flack for it, but I named categories of adaptogens. And so I called primary adaptogens the king adaptogens, which all the research is based on.
Right.
Things like Eleutherococcus,
Sure.
Panax ginseng, rhodiola,
Right.
ashwagandha, schizandra. These plants are time tested. They're part of traditional medicine for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And they are validated by tremendous science, including great human
Yes.
science to demonstrate their non-toxic, their ability to normalize no matter where things are, and to be non-specific. And that's a hard thing
Mm.
to think about. And
Right. Right.
I added what's called the four R's to understand adaptogens. And those four R's are they enhance response because before
Mm.
anything else, your body has to figure out, it has to be aware of something not right.
Right.
So you have and once there's awareness, then there's a response.
Mm.
And then with response, you need to have a recovery period and then
Mm.
a regenerative period. So I like this concept of thinking about that's what adaptogens do. And the
Mm.
categories I named, so you have your primary adaptogens, which I
Right.
name secondary adaptogens. I call a lot of the plants that are like in Ayurvedic medicine, they'd be Rasyanas, plants known for promoting longevity and
Mm.
aiding and bettering health.
Mm.
Or they're tonic herbs in Chinese medicine. Certain herbs like astragalus
Yes.
doesn't have a true anabolic quality. There's not a lot of research to validate it, like really impacting what's called the HPA axis, the hypothalamic
Mm.
pituitary adrenal axis, kind of the
Right.
hub of the endocrine system, because
Yes.
where adaptogens really one of the unique qualities is to be able to strengthen that hub. But astragalus has broad benefits,
Yes.
non-toxic, long history, and
Yep.
now shown to actually be very important in aiding in longevity through telomerase lengthening. So when
Right.
that would be an example of a secondary adaptogen.
Mm.
Other tonic herbs would be as well, say Shatavari in Ayurvedic medicine
Yep.
would be another example.
Ashwagandha.
Ashwagandha. Well, I put ashwagandha as a primary because
Yes. I would too.
the
Yeah.
research is strong and clear with that herb.
Yes.
So then we go into the companion adaptogens, and those are plants that again have tremendous benefit and complement these primary adaptogens. A lot of those are culinary herbs that people have embraced throughout history that people use every day. Things like turmeric and
Okay.
cumin or black cumin, rosemary, ginger. So these plants have, again, pleiotropic benefits,
Right.
but they're not the same kind of benefits as the primary adaptogens. But to
Yes.
me, they lend themselves in a smaller way to enhancing the benefits of the primary. So that's kind of
Mm.
my building block is a combination of those kinds of plants, and all my patients get bathed with the combination of those plants. And then I use some that have even greater anabolic capability. Like one of my favorites is a plant lesser known called Rapuncticum carthamoides.
Mm.
Usea,
Mm.
it's the plant most researched for its anabolic, its ability to build and strengthen the body. Because
Huh.
I'm really that's like the first thing I focus on is how to make my patient as robust as possible.
Kind of a rhodiola-like herb.
Rhodiola doesn't have these compounds called ectosterones that
Okay,
are even like that are tremendous. So rhodiola is a
right.
great plant, a really great plant. But well, here's one of the things about rhodiola. I would never give rhodiola as a single herb to a single patient. If you've ever tasted it, it's the most drying and astringent plant on the face of the planet. It will dry
Wow.
you out. And it's not,
Okay,
the research on it shows that it doesn't need to be taken in high doses.
right.
So, so whatever the research is on Eleutherococcus, whether it be in
Yes,
liquid form, you're thinking like 3 to 5 mils a day, half
sure.
that for rhodiola. So in my
Mm,
formulas, they're like 20% Eleuthero, 10% rhodiola,
okay.
10% Panax ginseng, maybe,
Mm,
so there's more Eleuthero because Eleuthero appears its beneficial range is a little bit is higher than the other adaptogens. And
right,
so
for sure.
but there are other herbs comparable, say anabolically to Rapuncticum. There's one called Arjuna, Arjuga. I mean, there's a Cissus quadrilateris, which is an Ayurvedic herb, very
Yeah.
good anabolically in the bone. Epimedium or goat
Oh,
meat. That
good.
would not be a
Yin Yang
primary
Kuo.
adaptogen, but it's a
Yeah.
great anabolic herb.
Hmm.
Eucomia is an Ayurvedic plant.
Right.
They build,
Good song.
you know, amongst other things, they build in muscle mass, but besides that, they build the body, make the body more robust on every
Hmm.
level. Because my
Hmm.
focus is in building robustness and then getting the body more efficient. I said there's two
Right.
things that you always want to do: how to make us more robust and how to make the body more efficient. And I said, that's
Hmm.
what I need to do. When you
Hmm.
say, oh, I got diabetes or I have metabolic syndrome, we need to make that whole chain of events from how your pancreas works to the
Right.
insulin signaling to the insulin
Yes.
receptors to the
Yes.
glucose transporters. We want to make that whole thing more efficient. And there's nothing better
Hmm.
than plants at doing that, actually.
Yes. That's excellent. So I just want to, so I've got your book here. It's Aptogens and Medical Herbalism.
Hmm.
And this looks like, I haven't read this yet. I look forward to. And so what will folks learn in this book, Donnie?
Well, I, I wanted to name the book "Thriving Beyond Surviving" because
Wow.
I really call it my Bible book. So the book
Hmm.
has chapters in everything, bone health, for example, which I consider a catabolic disease first and foremost when you look at
Yes.
osteoporosis.
Yep.
So my focus is when you look at all the plants that shown to improve osteoporosis, they're all anabolic in nature, like epimedium, for example, like
Hmm.
mumi or shilajits
Oh,
is another
sure.
one really good for that, which has great anabolic qualities as well. So there's chapters on weight management. There's
Hmm.
chapters on heart health or cardiovascular health, a chapter on cancer, a chapter on, the metabolic model of aging. So
Hmm.
there is a lot in the book that goes beyond adaptogens. Now, the whole 1/3 of the back of the book is all monographs. I think there's like 60
Wow.
monographs that are
Wow.
mostly plants, but then there's about 15 nutritional compounds that I call nutrition the
Yes.
dynamic duo with the herbs. Because what
Yes.
herbs
Yes.
can do for your health, nutrients or nutrition can't do. What nutrition
Yes.
does, the herbs can't do. So
Right.
the beauty is when you combine nutrition and herbal medicine together. And
Yes.
so there are some nutritional uh, monographs as well that I think really complement. When you're looking at the chemistry of the body, there are
Yes.
certain overt deficiencies that almost all Americans have. And if they're not overtly deficient, they're far from optimal levels.
Yes.
So I can name five or six right off the top of my head. One is zinc.
Hmm.
Two
Huge.
is vitamin D.
Yes.
Three is magnesium. So what do those three have in common? Well, all the enzymatic components of how the body works in an optimal way,
There's your
all those
efficiency.
enzymatic pathways are
Mhm.
dependent on adequate levels of those three nutrients.
Yes.
Magnesium, like prostaglandins and eicosanoids. How do you
Right.
balance inflammation if you don't have those nutrients? Because those pathways work to instill good prostaglandin production from the fatty acids we ingest are dependent on B6, zinc, magnesium, vitamin D. And then the next one would be selenium. So you add
Yes.
selenium into that mix. That's another overt deficiency in our soil and in our food. So we don't need a lot of those things. They're
Right.
kind of
They're my,
micro dosing, but we
yes.
need adequate amounts to make sure the body is working as efficient as possible.
Yes.
So yeah, I test in all my cancer patients. I test zinc, copper, and ceruloplasmin. And again,
Mm.
looking at there's loads of research on what's called copper chelation and
Yes.
how it can slow the growth of cancer down.
Mm.
And of
That's
course, they'll
excellent.
first use drugs like tetrahydromolybdate, is a drug to chelate copper, but then they go too far. They chelate copper too far below
Right.
levels that would
Right.
be healthy for your normal body. I'm not interested again in doing that. I'm interested in getting everything into balance. And so
Right.
if copper levels are high, which most frequently in cancer patients they are, zinc levels
Especially
are low.
estrogen driven cancers.
Yeah, and zinc levels are low. Yeah, prostate
Mm-hmm.
cancer, breast
Exactly.
cancer. But I find most cancers, zinc levels are either low or extremely low, dangerously low.
Yes.
And copper
And you're
levels are
checking
either,
that in the hair and the blood.
no, I do blood or RBC levels.
Yep.
I
Yep. Ditto.
sometimes check both of them just to see
Yep.
how they might reflect. And then ceruloplasmin, you have to check with the copper because that's kind of like checking iron and
That's
ferritin.
the
It's like the
chelator.
two sides of the coin. So,
Right. And that's very
and I'm
adrenal related.
yeah, so I'm trying to, again, just like the rheology pathways, because in my system, I'm working on the host, again, building robustness in the patient,
Right.
on the interplay, which is the microenvironment between the host and the disease, which
Yes.
all these things matter, like the rheology of the blood, the copper zinc
Right.
ceruloplasm, inflammatory pathways that may be hijacked by the cancer. Like you
Mm.
mentioned, pancreatic cancer is hugely interleukin 1 beta NLRP3 inflammasome driven. That's like the major
Mm.
pathway. If you
Mm.
don't do anything about that, you're not going to get very far. And then you look
Right.
at the LOX 5 and 12
Yes.
pathway. You
Yes.
look at the COX-2 pathway, and then you look at interleukin 6 and then chemokines like chemokine 4. So there's all these inflammatory pathways that are hijacked by the cancer. So these
Right.
are all things that we're looking at and then shifting them to be optimal for the health of the patient and
Yes.
non-optimal for the cancer. And then we identify all the characteristics of the cancer and we figure out what's the most sensible way now to target the cancer. So when you
Mm.
build robustness in the patient, get that microenvironment conducive to the host of the patient,
Right.
non-conducive to the cancer, and then sensibly target the cancer, now you have a system that's working on all cylinders,
Mm.
consistently working.
Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, I appreciate what I'm hugely into, among other things, the zinc. Wrote a whole page on zinc here, and all inspired by this, well, in part by this study where this paper, so basically saying that zinc status can be used to diagnose and prognose and prevent and treat cancer patients. They're just finding it as like a critical thing, not the only thing, as you mentioned, but
Mhm.
one critical thing. So I just had if you're for just a couple of questions from our listeners, and then want to make sure folks know about how to contact you and your work. So we had a question here from Richard, who's a regular. Do you have or know of DMSO benefits combined with herbs or natural substances? How does it work? How is it done? Topically, orally, and other method?
Great question. And I work a lot with DMSO. I don't do anything orally, but topically it's absorbed into the bloodstream. So
Hmm.
all of the topical formulas that we make in the clinic, both the ones that we make that are standalone and then custom. So all our
Right?
patients often get something. For example, we have one called Sacred Tea,
Hmm.
which is using the sacred frankincense essential oil along with
Huh.
a bunch of botanicals that go in with DMSO. And that's one
Huh.
of the things I use as a topical over tumors per se. We have one
Interesting.
called Poke Oil Plus, which is poke oil with a lot of other things added to it, including
Hmm.
DMSO. I
Hmm.
tend to use about 5% DMSO in most of the topicals, and then
Right.
that you get the benefits of DMSO, and then it drives everything in to the body. And then working with infants, so I work in pediatrics as
Hmm.
well. A lot
Hmm.
of them can't take things orally, and
Right.
so I make up topicals, and you warm the feet up, and then you put it on the bottom of the feet, and it absorbs into the feet.
Wow. Wow, that's awesome. And thoughts on enzymes? I guess that would be the John
Yeah, great.
Beard, Nick
Another
Gonzalez.
great question. So I use let's see, 4 or 5 different enzymes depending. So in cancer, when the fibrinogen's high, the there's only one enzyme I find that really can impact it positively,
Yep.
and that is from the earthworm, the lumbrokinase.
Oh, sure.
So I use lumbrokinase in cancer. Now, and that's kind of expensive. The second enzyme I use quite a bit is bromelain.
Oh, sure.
Bromelain is from pineapple stems. Bromelain is fibrinolytic, but it also modulates the immune system. So you get
Hmm.
this anti-inflammatory aspect and this
Right.
fibrinolytic aspect. It's
Huh.
pretty inexpensive. Enzymes should be taken on on an empty stomach,
Yes.
primarily
Yeah.
in cancer therapy.
Right.
And bromelaine's inexpensive, and it dates all the way back to one of my great mentors, Hans Nieper, who was a German
Oh,
physician.
right.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's one of my idols. You know, I have
Yeah.
all his
Carrie too.
writings, all his books.
Yeah. Carrie studied with him as well. Oh, Hans
Yeah.
Elstrom. Sorry. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Nieper.
So
Yeah.
no, he was breakthrough in many
Wow.
areas of cancer, way ahead
Wow.
of his time. And so anyway, so bromeline's second. I use another one called Tuga.
Hmm.
And Tuga is a bile salt enzyme. So that's particularly good if someone's had like Whipple surgery or they're not digesting fats well. It's
Okay.
a digestive enzyme, but it could
Hmm.
also be taken on an empty stomach and have other potential anti-tumor effects. Um,
Hmm.
and then I use one called seropeptase
Oh, sure.
from the silkworm.
Silkworm. Yes.
And that one's the best mucolytic agent. So,
Hmm.
but bromeline's also a mucolytic agent, but seropeptase. And it's really both bromelain and seropeptase have a lot of other benefits that are interesting. For example, and I discovered this accidentally, but they're great for clearing acne.
Huh.
So for acne, I'd say 75–80% of cases will clear by giving zinc and either seropeptase or bromelain on an empty stomach. It just
Wow.
those enzymes eat up all the bacteria, and
Hmm.
that's what happens. So, and there are other ones. I use a green papaya. So green
Okay.
papaya is got papain, which is an enzyme
Sure.
primarily for improving people's digestion. So we have a powder in an organic green papaya powder in our clinic, and I make a powdered blend uh, where I combine a lot of warming aromatic herbs, like
Hmm.
for people that have like damp spleen in Chinese medicine, or
Sure.
so I use like cardamom,
Yeah.
cinnamon, ginger, orange peel, lotus root, and we powder them up to a powder, and we mix it with green papaya,
Huh.
and that's a powder blend that people will ingest with their food or put it in their smoothie, or we'll combine it with other powdered extracts that we think are really specific for the patient and helpful.
Hmm.
So that's probably enough on enzymes.
Yeah, that's more than I expected. That's amazing.
I do use nattokinase, but not in cancer at all. Nattokinase is more intervascular, works intervascular, so it's
Yes.
more for heart patients than it is for anything else.
Interesting. Yeah, Mercola's talking about lumbar kinase like nattokinase, but better. Like he's just saying, well, let's use that instead because it's more powerful, kind of thing. I don't think he's differentiating clinically.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
nattokinase doesn't really do much in cancer, where
Right.
lumbrokinase definitely is active and good in
Yes.
cancer. And probably overall as a fibrinolytic agent in general,
Yep.
lumbrokinase is a bit better, but it is quite a bit more money, and
Sure.
nattokinase is still good. It's interesting
Yeah.
that nattokinase comes from the fermented soy food
Right.
natto, and the vitamin K2 also comes from natto.
Oh, right. That's right.
So
Very interesting.
yeah, that I always found that kind of interesting.
One of our faculty, Pam Levin, is asking what herbs might you recommend for a woman with SSL B-cell lymphoma who's in remission now?
I have a lot of experience with B-cell lymphoma, but it depends on some of the
Yeah.
deletions of that lymphoma. It's not like these
Yes.
conditions are not all one and the same. So
Right.
there's a molecular profiling I would do either, well, if she's in remission, I would do it on her past tumor to
Yep.
identify certain things, whether we would need to target things like the mTOR, PIK3 pathway a bit more,
Yes.
and just identifying certain characteristics. And so there'd be a little stronger emphasis maybe on those. But in general, I use, I mean, all my patients get put on our formula: mushroom synergy,
Hmm.
botanical treasures, inflammaway. Those three are always, if always in play for me with all my patients. So, botanical treasures kind of features the curcumin 3C by Sabinza, along with
Hmm.
the green EGCG green tea extract, and those two
Hmm.
by themselves are great. But then
Right.
you're going to get resveratrol, grapeseed extract,
Oh,
rosemary,
fabulous.
ginger, amla, black pepper. So that would be a really good one overall. And then, mushroom synergies, again, that's a standalone formula for me. Everyone gets those two formulas I work with.
Okay.
So, and then
The
you
mushroom synergy and what's the second one that everybody gets?
botanical treasures, it's called.
Oh, okay.
And the mushroom synergy features 5 mushroom extracts from Namex, which to me is by far the best manufacturer of mushroom extracts in
Hmm.
the world. And then
Hmm.
it has Scutellaria bacchalensis in
Oh,
there.
sure.
It has in there another lesser known Chinese herb called Rhabdosis rubescens, which
Hmm.
has a compound called orodonin, which is very active against B cell lymphoma. It
Hmm.
has in it milk thistle, which is also
Hmm.
really active against a lot of different kinds of cancer.
Yes.
Some hibiscus as well.
Hmm.
And the mushrooms featured are reishi mushroom, the Ganoderma lucidum,
Right.
the Trametes, which was previously called Coriolis or turkey
Oh,
tail.
sure. Sure.
And then in there is Poriococcus, which a lot of,
Oh.
if you're not in Chinese medicine, that's not one of the
Oh,
popular ones, but I love
right.
Poria,
Resolve
myself.
damp. Sure.
Yeah. And then you have shiitake in
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and you have chaga, which
Oh,
is the,
beautiful.
and chaga and reishi are both double extracted, meaning alcohol and water extracted,
Oh.
because the terpenes in both of them are equally as important as the polysaccharides in there.
Hmm. Excellent.
So
And
anyway,
thank you. So I want to make sure folks know how to connect with you and your work. We're getting questions about that. So I'm just going to put this up. Maybe you could give us a little tour of this website. This is Madeira. How do you pronounce Maderi or?
yeah, Madeira. I some people pronounce it Medarai. I had a
Okay.
Latin scholar say it's Medarai and not Madeira.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah,
So is
because it's
this
the
the,
Latin word. Madeira is the Latin word which means to heal and be whole, and it's also
hmm,
the root word for medicinal too and medicine. So,
okay.
so I have a few different websites. There's also what's called DonnieYance.com. So for lay people, I have a treasure chest of information on this website, which is getting a facelift very soon. But
Okay.
like all those topics, I have countless papers on. Here's one on lipids and cancer that was just published, and
Oh, wow.
it's I do all my publishing on this website. So then,
Okay.
but for patient care, you can go back to the Mediri site,
Yep.
and the Mediri site is patient care. So we have in our academy, so practitioners that want to learn some of the Mediri methodology, there's the
Hmm.
academy. We have patient care, and then we have a research wing as well. We've tried to launch very large clinical research with several large institutions like Ohio
Hmm.
State University,
Hmm.
um, not to have them in the final analysis approve the trials, but then we published a retrospective breast cancer trial that people can review. It was published in a journal a year and a half ago, I'd say. And then
Wow.
we have a clinical trial on dogs with lymphoma, actually,
Mm.
that we haven't launched yet, but we're about to create a crowdfunding to raise the money to do that on 80 dogs.
Wow.
And then we have and yeah, I think that that's good enough. I mean, my product line is Natura Health products. If people want to learn about my formulations and what they're like, which are all incredibly unique compared to what you
Yes.
might see out there by
So is
anybody.
that, can folks obtain those directly, or is that
It's a professional line, but nowadays, ever since COVID, everybody can get things easily
right? Right.
online and stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
So, but it is designed as a practitioner line
Yep.
first and foremost. But
Sure.
certainly, a lot of the formulas are really good for just direct to consumer too, like the
Yep.
Amino Whey Pro, things like that. But there's botanable features that herb Rapunticum carthamoides, which I
Oh,
talked
okay.
about. So yeah, so that's the product line. And then I'm a musician, so I have two albums out. One is
Oh,
called
great.
Cosmic Force and the other is called Heaven Awaits. And I just got a jazz station. You'll like this, Michael, a jazz
Yeah.
station called Jazz and Interpretations is going to put my song called Better Days Ahead as their theme song for their radio station.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so that's
Where can we find your music, Donnie?
on Spotify,
Okay.
any of the listening channels that people listen to, it's all up there. You just put Donnie Yansen, Cosmic Force, or Donnie Yansen, Heaven Awaits, and it's very unique music. It's not like anything else anyone's ever heard by anyone else before. I don't even know
Wow.
how to explain it. I mean, I'm a jazz player, but my music it's got a spiritual nature to it. It's as
I'm not
people
surprised.
there's a lot of bass melody, bass and flute, bass and saxophone. So yeah, there's the Cosmic Force. Faith in the Gift is the opening song to that album, Faith in the Gift, and it's very high caliber, great musicianship on it, and yeah,
That's awesome. Well, on your next visit to Colorado, we'll have to
I'm
get
definitely going to
together and
come and
play.
visit you. I'm definitely coming to visit
Please
you.
do. It would be an honor,
Yeah,
and it'd be
and
great
you're
to.
welcome to come to Ashland anytime.
Thank you.
We're a single flight away from each other. I think it's
That's right.
a 2 hour flight.
That's great. Well, here are your two albums, Cosmic Force and Heaven Awaits, which I look forward to
And
listening
my
to.
third one, I'm halfway through, and that will be
Oh, wow.
called. It's going to be called The Pilgrim.
Oh, wow. That's great.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
because I like people to see their life as a pilgrimage, and people use the word journey. I tend to like the word pilgrimage because pilgrimage is always pointing to this destination of connection to our Creator and the divine.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that. I love that. Good. Well, thank you. That's just excellent. And Tony, any final thoughts you had for us today, just for you to feel complete?
Well, we've covered a lot of things,
We
in a
have.
lot of different ways. We've improvised well together. I would
Indeed.
say, the most important thing I like to say is maybe just touch on the thematic elements of Madiri care. And the first is wisdom. Phronesis is
Hmm.
the term that the Greeks used for practical wisdom. So
Hmm.
in medicine, wisdom is always at the forefront, and
Hmm.
knowledge which is modern, should always serve wisdom. So as we gain
Hmm.
more knowledge into cancer and into disease, it should constantly go into the wisdom system. And then
Hmm.
all right, we apply common sense and logic. Does it make sense to give a guy 90 years old that is the beginning of prostate cancer, Lupron shot to suppress his prostate cancer? And it doesn't make any sense at all because he's going to have a poor quality of life and die of
Of
something
something else. Yeah.
die of that. And so I see that kind of stuff go on. So you always have to say, does this make sense? Is this logical? When you know the endpoints, is it going to help me live better or help me live longer?
Yes.
And the fourth thematic element is musical intuition,
Hmm.
applying the listening concepts and the way the body works musically to
Right.
medicine is great. And the last one is love and prayer. So love is
Hmm.
always the healer. Everything comes through love. And so
Hmm.
we live in a medicine model where there's fear is dominating over love.
Yes.
One of the
Yes.
That's the final thought. I want love to dominate, not fear.
Hmm. Beautiful. That was a good summation of A Course in Miracles. That's
Beautiful.
beautiful. Donnie Yance, thank you so
You're,
much
you're
for
so welcome.
your the great blessing and light you are in the world, for the thousands of lives you've touched and benefited and made brighter, and certainly for your time today. And I sense more productive collaboration to come.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. Again, please go to medricenter.org. That's MEDRI center.org. And Donnie Yance, just like it sounds, .com, and learn more about Donnie's work. Please get his books, Adaptogens in Medical Herbalism, Herbal Medicine, Healing, and Cancer. These are very important works. So, Donnie, thank you very much. You've inspired me to close the show with some piano music, so I'm going to do that. And thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time today. And let's give Donnie in whatever platform you're listening to us on. We're on about 10 different streaming platforms right now. Please send Donnie some love and appreciation in the chat. Thank you, my friend. Much appreciation. Okay, so I'm gonna play some Bach, some kind of crazy
Oh,
variations
I
on.
should have mentioned Bach because I play Bach in my teaching.
Oh,
I play
sweet.
Bach in G minor because the counterpoints. I said, here's his first
Oh,
melody,
right,
here's the
right.
second melody, here's the third melody. So all those counterpoints because he was the master of counterpoint.
Oh, for sure. That's great. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week, and thanks for being with us today. Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate you being here today. Thanks to the completely awesome Donnie Yance for being with us today. And blessings to you and yours. And we will see you next week. Take care. Oh, and one more thing. Please join us. We have a new course that is going on right now. We're just doing our second class today, not too late to join us. And we are talking about the immune system and how to prevent and reverse damage from the genocide jab, the COVID injections. So I'm just going to give you the link there. We had a great class last week. We have 2 more classes today and next week. Please join us at michaelgaeta.com/course, and you'll see it right at the top there. And look forward to continuing the exploration today. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Oh, wow, great. That's awesome, Donnie. So thanks, everybody. Blessings to all, and we'll see you next week.